Hello, welcome to another episode of Life Changers, and this is Mike. And today we're going to continue talking about my 10-day meditation retreat. We made it to day 3 on the last episode. So on this episode, we'll continue and make it to day 4. But before we get started on that, just to, I don't know. I guess we'll just get started on that. Oh yeah, I turned off my bright lights in the studio. I got the ambiance going here. Got some blue lights, and it's really cool. Just makes it more like, I don't know, vibeable. But so day 4 of the meditation. So where we left off on day 3, I believe is, my mind started going a little more, nothing to do. Because you got to understand, like, one thing I realized in this journey of this 10-day meditation retreat, and by day 3, like, I realized it after the fact, but, like, I'm realizing how much our minds are always just go, right? It's never relaxed out here in the real world, as we say, right? Like, sometimes I'm sitting there going, what did we do before our cell phones and we had all this stuff on our phones? Like, on a side note, I just want to tell Mrs. Henderson from high school, yeah, I will have a calculator with me and a device that tells me anything all the time. Because all the time in school, like, I'd pull out a calculator to do some work. How come we can't use the calculator? Or, a book to help me with whatever we're trying to do. And she's like, well, you're not always going to have these books on hand or a calculator on your pocket. Well, yeah, I got a calculator in my pocket. I got a thing called Google that I could ask it anything, and it will tell me anything. Might not be right sometimes, but it's up to us to determine if it's right or not. But at least I have things that tell me anything. It could even spell any word in any language I want it to. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. But yeah, like, we're on our cell phones all the time. And we're always like, that stimulation, need to be busy, need to do something. And we're never just relaxed and taking time for ourselves, right? And as you know, I really like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Michael A. Singer books and stuff like that. But there's some videos I watch of Dr. Joe Dispenza on a TV, not TV show, but I'm losing my words today. But anyways, it's on Gaia. It's like a platform and it's a subscription base, and you can watch things. And Dr. Joe Dispenza's on there, and he has a lot of cool meditations and stuff. And watching him again, and he talks a lot about how he's got one of the key things for meditation. I might have mentioned this in the last episode, but one of the key meditation. Maybe I should start editing so I can take out all this stuff. But anyways, one of the key things for meditations, and the main thing is, like, I did mention this last time, about you're like a computer. You got to reboot the computer sometimes so it works properly and less sluggish, right? And has time to, like, get rid of the garbage when you reboot it. Same thing with our bodies and our minds. When you meditate, you got to just meditate and get to that place where your mind is relaxed, right? And as Dr. Joe Dispenza will tell you, and as I'm telling you, like, as I'm trying to do meditations and stuff, and trying to just, like, be disconnected and just be there for me and reboot my body, my mind, and my system, how your mind just goes nuts, or your ego. Like, a lot of people call it ego, mind, the voice in your head, Just don't talk back to it. Not joking. But, and yeah, like, it just goes crazy, and your body's like, oh, I gotta move, I gotta do stuff, come on, right? And, like, that's good. Like, you're doing the meditation right, and just, like, calm it down. As long as you recognize that your body's doing this and your mind's doing this, you're doing the meditation right. And then you gotta just bring it back, right? To concentrate on your breathing, focus on your breathing, nothing else, right? Relax and just be nothing and be there. And and when you get to that point where your body and mind can shut off, because even when you're sleeping, you're like, well, when I sleep, Mike, my mind and body gets to reboot, blah blah blah. Okay. But your mind is actually working a lot more. And when you're sleeping, your body might get a little reboot, but your mind isn't stopped, because you're dreaming, you're doing stuff in your mind, and it's just going and it's firing. So you need to just relax, turn everything off. And I noticed, like, it's hard. It's getting harder and harder. for people just to sit there and be with themselves and by themselves and just be present. Because we're always like, what's next on Facebook? Or I got to scroll through TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever. Because I'm telling you, attention spans, and you probably realize it. I realize it for me. You know, even my wife, I'm like, let's watch a movie. She's like, I get bored pretty quick. My attention span's not there. I just can't be focused enough. So, like, I'm trying to less, you know, scrolling through TikTok or Facebook and stuff like that. And just, you know, back to where I used to be. Like, if I wanted to watch a movie or TV show, I watch the full episode. And, you know, not just skip or, I gotta go, right? Because that's not helping you in any way to achieve your goals and to help you to, you know, be where you want to be. Like, it's actually really distracting. How many hours? Okay, like if you have like any Apple products, I recently got like an iPad and a MacBook for the studio, and I noticed it tells me my weekly goes, hey, just letting you know, here's how much time you spent on your device. This is what you're doing, and these are the apps you're using, and this is the time you've been using per week. And it even tells you sometimes daily if you want to program it that, and it tells me what I've been doing, and I'm just like, cool, I'm not on here a lot, but I got a Google phone, and that's where I spend most of my time. And, you know, just, you know, getting away from the world or de-stressing as people, I'm just going to sit here for like an hour to de-stress after a long day of work. And like 6 hours later, like, oh, crap, I did nothing. And I see that more and more and more. So let's limit ourselves on our devices. Like, you know, if you want to be successful and if you want to achieve all the stuff you want to achieve, well, you gotta be present and be willing to do the work. That's the main thing. You can sit here and will all you want, billions of dollars coming your way, or millions or whatever, right? Millions doesn't sound like anything anymore. In Ontario, Canada, like $1 million home in Toronto is like a shack. But yet, if you go to New Brunswick, Canada, $1 million is like mansions. Even Texas, I hear. Florida is really cheap for housing, you know, stuff like that. Anyways, just crazy how $1 million in Canada, in Ontario, Canada, anyways, gets you a shack in Toronto. You get a decent house, maybe, outside Toronto, but anywho. And yeah, like the whole point of my channel is to help you to be the best you can be and to learn about the law of attraction as I'm learning about it in my experiences. But, you know, the difference between sitting there meditating and wheeling all this stuff and creating your reality is when it comes to you, you got to be willing to do the work. And I notice I'm not willing to do the work. I'd rather be on my phone. Like, look how long it's taken me to get back into these episodes. I took the summer off because we were really busy, to be honest, traveling and stuff. But, you know, it's October 31st today. Happy Halloween, everybody. Hope you had a good Halloween at this point by the time this airs. But today's, you know, in the morning for Halloween, so trick or treat. But anyways, yeah, like I could have made a lot more episodes if I wasn't scrolling as much. Fun fact. But anyways, back to the meditation. So day 4, morning of day 4 now. It's 4:30 in the morning. I wake up. I talk to my spider that's still on my window. It moves around, join the, you know, different spots of the window. But I'd sit there, please, Mr. Spider, don't come in and eat me. And for those who didn't know, it's, oh man, I forgot the name. It's a wolf spider, a female wolf spider. It's one of the bigger ones. It's pretty big. I didn't even know those existed in Canada. Man. You got to understand, I grew up in Quebec. Spiders weren't that big. So, day 4 rolls, and I wake up, talk to the spider, and I'm just, you know, like I explained in day 3, I'm just going through the motions. My mind's going crazy, you know, trying to get me to quit pretty much. That's pretty much what it's trying to do, okay? I realize this, but in the moment, you don't realize it, but now I realize it. It's my mind and body's trying to get me back to what it's used to, right? Sitting around, scrolling, have access to, you know, if I want to know something, I just pull it up. Want to see the temperature? Perfect. Want to see what time it is? Want to see perfect, right? I got my phone. I could look it up. Or, customer's calling me. Got to deal with this. You know, got to deal with that and whatnot, right? But none of that. I'm literally just there by myself. Well, not by there's a lot of people, but you're not allowed to talk and stuff. For those who are just joining this episode, you go back to the previous one. You'll learn a little bit about what I'm talking about. But yeah, so no talking, no nothing for 10 days. And I'm only at day 4. So my body's just like, oh, I want to go home. I'm just bored. Let's go back to bed. Let's do this. And my mind's just going crazy. Like, oh, here we go. Your wife's back at home. Maybe she's messing up the contracts for you. Maybe the business isn't doing so well since you're not there. And my mind's just going crazy like this. And I'm like, shut up. Back to breathing, right? And then, I go through the breakfast and I see it, you can see everybody. And, there's a few people that look like they're getting depressed. I laugh now, but in the moment I wasn't laughing. And I was just like, okay, we're going through doing the process. And I'm just trying to convince myself, like, this is good. And it is, right? And then we get to the morning meditation. I'm sitting there trying to meditate. My mind just doing its negativity again, eh? Like, oh, maybe your whole family just died in a car accident right now, and there's no way to know. And I'm like, oh, there is no way to know, right? I'm like, oh, stop, but focus on breathing. Calm down, mind. I want to do this for me. I want to, learn how to meditate and do this retreat and do a reboot. It's kind of like the way my wife explained it is like this 10-day retreat's like a reboot for your body and mind and soul. So it was going to be good, right? But I didn't realize how crazy it was going to be. Where my mind and body is just trying to like, come on, like just doesn't want to sit there, meditate for hours on end every day. Yes, it was really hard. Like just thinking about it, and like I explained in the other episode, right? If you had were in a car accident or had something crazy happen in your life, and when you talk about the story, how your body reacts and your mind is reacting as if it's happening again, right? So it's the same thing with your mind if you entertain those thoughts of like, oh, all these bad things could be happening right now, and oh no, right? It's the end of the world, oh! And then your mind like just keeps on playing with that, and then your body, reacts to it as if it's really happening. And that's where you got to like just slow down, live in reality, and choose the reality, as I say, that you live in. Like, I don't focus on all this negativity that's going on and stuff. Well, Mike, you should, right? There's all this crazy stuff happening in the world. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but I want to live in my moment, puppies and rainbows, and I don't want to bring negative energy into my life and focus on that stuff. Because I see people out there, and people I know and love and cherish that are focused on negative, and that the whole world's against them. Everybody hates them, and it's not a healthy way to live. Thinking everybody hates you and everybody's against you and blah, blah, blah. But it's not even true. People, like even as a kid, like I remember when I was like a kid and I'd see teenagers. I'm like, oh, those teenagers. And I look down and they're probably talking about me, blah, 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 right? They don't care who I am. They really don't. They're probably just like living their life, talking about like what cool things they did at school that day in high school. And I was like a little kid going, oh, these teenagers are going to beat me up. They hate me. And then I'm scared, thinking I'm going to get beat up. Hello, they don't really care about me. And yeah, when I was younger, I got beat up a lot. Growing up in Quebec. But anyways, that's different stories. But yeah, so my mind's going crazy. And to the point where I needed to cry. So I got up out of the meditation hall because there's all these people in there, and I went outside and I'm just crying. I couldn't hold it back, which apparently is a good thing, right? Just to release. And just like, man, why is my mind doing this? I'm like, am I going crazy? Like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then one of the teachers noticed me leave like that. So they came to see me. And they're like, what's up? Are you okay? And I'm like, and I explained to them what was happening with my mind and, ego, whatever. And telling them like all these negative thoughts and like, my brain's trying to like get me out of here. I just want to get up and run and leave. And, my brain's telling me like how all these bad things could be happening back home and there's nothing I could do about it. No way anybody can get me, blah, blah, blah. And it's just hard. And like, I just need to cry, I guess. And he's like, good. And I'm like, good. Just like day 3, I guess, right? And he's like, yeah, you're progressing really good. Like most people get to this point by day like 6, 7, maybe even 8. And this is day 4. And you're already like realizing all this stuff. And I was like, well, I read books about this and I study. I listen to books, I don't read. But study a lot of this stuff where I'm interested in like the ego and all that and meditating and whatnot. And he's like, this is good because this is the whole point of you coming out to this 10-day retreat is for you to help you to understand, recognize the ego and the negativity your ego has and how you can, change it to positive and work with it and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, this just seems crazy. Like, I never expected it to be like this. And yeah, it's crazy. I wasn't expecting to be like that crazy. And I was just, really missing my family, my wife, my kids and stuff. And just like, it sounds like, oh, hey, Mike, I could have done this, but it's just, you got to understand, you're taking out everything, all stimulation out of your world, no cell phones. You're not getting the, hey, you got a thing, or hey, you got a messenger, or this or that. You're not talking to people there unless like you need to, like in my case where I was talking to the guy, or there's certain times you can talk to the teachers and ask them questions, but you're not communicating with people all the time and just, keeping yourself busy. It's just literally you and your mind and meditating. There's no TVs, there's no movies, there's no laptops, there's no cell phones, there's no iPads, there's none of this stuff when you're doing these retreats. And it's good. I know for me, I need to take out all that, detox a bit on all that crap and go to, where now is my, I guess, not most successful, but most working hard mentality is when I didn't have all that crap and pushing me in my life. So I got to be minimalist. But yeah, and I was just like, this is hard. And he's like, well, you got this. Like, and I'm like, well, am I going crazy? And he's like, if you were going crazy, I would kick you out of this, like in the meditation retreat. But you're not. You have a stable mind. This is normal. Everybody's going through the same thing. If you look around, you see how people are, getting harder and harder every day. And this is part of the process. And then once you, work through all this with your ego and your mind or whatever, and make it into a habit and stuff, how much better and easier it gets, and how you can change your negative ego to a positive ego and whatnot, right? And I was like, okay, I will continue, right? And then, I went back in, finished the morning meditations, and you leave for a couple hours, go to lunch, then you go back to the afternoon meditations, then you do supper and go back. And, those meditations were hard. I found my mind drifting, like, hey, what's going on? Let's go do something. Hey, what's that? Think about this, think about that. Hey, what's going on? I'm trying to like turn into like positive voice in my ego or voice in my head. And I was like, okay, I got this, and it's just that the night meditation was really hard. So I talked to the teacher again. I'm like, this is like, I just need to go home. I need to go home. I want to go home. And he's just like, no, you're doing so good. You can go home if you want, blah, blah, blah. But I recommend you stay, like try, just sleep tonight, tomorrow morning, it's day 5. And then after that, you're over the 5-day hump, and then it starts going down. And before you know it, you're done. And how much better you'd be, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'll try. And all these emotions were just, going crazy, like bubbling up and stuff, where I just feel like, I sound like a crybaby, but I just needed more releasing, I guess, more crying to do. So I just sat there and outside and just like trying to relax my mind and stuff and, crying and whatnot. And then I was just like, oh, let's just go to bed. I want to go to bed. And as I'm walking, like there was another person who, I guess, when I was sitting there crying, he left. He stormed out of the building, left. And, maybe he was like me, right? Just going through a hard time, needed to going through, maybe he's leaving. I don't know. And I was just like, okay, so when I finished, crying and stuff, and I was like, I'm going to walk back to my cabin in the woods and go to bed and relax and, make it to day 5. One day at a time, right? It takes one day at a time, Mike. Let's do this. I got this. That as I'm walking through, the guy was walking back. I guess he went to his room, and came back out, and he looked like really angry or grumpy or upset about something. And, then me just wanted to be like, oh, hey, buddy, how's it going? What's going on? But my ego's like, hey, man, don't talk. You're not allowed to talk to people, so don't talk to him. And he's probably really upset. He might be going over there and he's going to start beating up people and, he's going crazy. You should save yourself, run. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, no, the guy's going through a hard time, whatever. But I'm like, sure, I'm not supposed to talk and interrupt. So, maybe he needs to talk to the teacher again. So I was just like, whatever. So I left. Went into my cabin, and my mind's like, hey, maybe if the guy goes crazy and starts like flipping tables and like trying to beat up the teachers and stuff, then you get to go home tomorrow. And I'm like, that's sad. Like, stop thinking. like just no. I'm just like, no. And then my mind starts going back, hey, man, did you see the spider this evening? Did you look for him? Maybe he's inside the room now. Maybe he's going to crawl in your face. And I'm just like, oh, man, what the hell is going on? Like, I need something to distract me. Where's my phone? Like, you don't have it. Like, I left mine with my wife. She had it because she needed it for business and stuff. But a lot of people leave their phones locked up in a room at the place where we're doing the retreat. And I'm just like, man, what's going on? This is nuts, man. And then I started hearing it sounded like screaming far in the woods somewhere. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, it just sounded like screaming like, ah, ah. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what's going on, man? And my mind's like, hey, maybe that guy's beating up people. I'm like, okay, more likely maybe he's frustrated and he's in the woods screaming. Just like, what's going on? Right? I realize now, but yeah, I'll finish the story, then I'll tell you what the screaming was. It's pretty hilarious. But anyway, so my mind's just like trying to be all negative about it. And then you started hearing owls going, hoo, hoo. And I'm like, who? Someone's screaming. Maybe someone's getting hurt. I thought maybe like it was an animal, getting attacked by another animal. Like, what's going on? And I started hearing all these things in the woods. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm just going to sit in my room in my bed and just curl up. And then that's like, the spider might get you. Look in your sheets. He might be in here. And I'm just like freaking out. I didn't sleep well that night. And I eventually fell asleep. But anyways, coming to find out what that screaming was in the woods was not people screaming or an animal screaming because it was getting murdered. If you want, you can Google what screaming fox sounds like. Just sounds like, ah! It's crazy. And in the woods, it's nuts. But anyways, some people that live in the cities listen to this podcast like, I'm never going into the woods. It sounds crazy out in the wilderness. Hey, the wilderness is a beautiful place. I love it. I just hate mosquitoes. It's very beautiful to hear screaming screaming foxes at night and owls going hoo hoo all over the woods. Very entertaining when you got nothing to distract you from it. And your mind just goes nuts. It's kind of like when you hear something in the dark and your mind starts going, oh, what is that? Is that a ghost? Is that right? Like, you got this is happening like all day because I got nothing to distract me. The only time I'm really distracted is when I'm sleeping or eating. And at supper time is just like a coffee and a snack, like a fruit. You're not eating big meals at supper time. The only big meals you get is like breakfast and lunch, so that's it. And breakfast is usually oatmeal. Lunch is usually like some kind of pasta and salad and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a great experience. So now it's morning of day 5. That I'm like, well, I guess everything's normal. I guess the buzzers are going like normal breakfast, ding, 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 for 5 o'clock or 5:30 for breakfast in the morning. And I was just like, okay, I got this. And I did the morning meditation. And it was really difficult. I don't want to get into too much detail, but yeah, it was really done. I was really done. I was mentally just tired and emotionally just not having it that morning. I skipped lunch, and then I went back for the meditation at lunch. And I don't know. I was just shutting down. I didn't like the feelings I was having. I didn't like how I was. For a guy that talks on a podcast and is like puppies and rainbows and stuff like that, like, I know I have a lot of things to work on. I'm a normal person, just like everybody else. And I don't want this podcast to strictly be about like all the positive stuff all the time, because some people will be like, well, Mike from Life Changers living the life and he's using the law of attraction. He's learning all this stuff and it's all positive. There's never negative in no, there's tough times. I'm only human. At least I think I'm human. I could be a robot with an implant. I don't know. Could be AI. Anyways. But yeah, like, I'm only human, and it was really tough. And I was really missing my family, missing my wife. Like, you gotta understand, my wife and my family, like, I really love my kids. I really love my wife. Like, I don't know, like, we have such a good relationship. Like, I don't hide nothing. You know how, like, in the world, like, TV and movies and all that, it's like, oh, your wife, your ball and chain, right? Or your spouse, ball and chain, right? But I really have a good connection with my wife, or my spouse, my partner in life. And we just tell each other everything, and we're just open, and we have such an amazing, like, I don't know, that's like going to be one of the topics we'll talk about, is like love. My story, finding love. But yeah, like, she's not only my best friend, like, she really is. Like, I know I'm not being cliche or nothing. Like, yeah, like, she really is my best friend, because I don't know, once we started, like, we were married for 17 years this year, in this October, actually, about a week ago, 10 days ago was our anniversary. And 17 years we've been married. Got married young. But, and you think you know what love is and how much I love, and then it just amazes me how I could love somebody more than I ever thought I could. And, once you, I guess, stop living the stigma of society, how, like, oh, my wife's supposed to be my ball and chain, and she puts me down and holds me back, and blah, 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 blah. Like, we're going to have a whole episode, maybe a few episodes on this, and how, like, you're always prepared to be like, with the argument, to try to win the argument and stuff like that. But, like, the last, I would say 5, maybe 6 years, 7 maybe, just, we put everything out there and we talk about everything. There's nothing to hide from each other. There's nothing. There's no reason to lie. There's no reason to hide. There's no reason to, like, fight. When you, like, talk to somebody and try to give them constructive criticism, and then everybody takes offense to it, and then you start arguing and fighting. Yeah, like, we went through all that. But, like, now when we talk, it's just like, okay, like, tell me, don't get upset. That's what I'm going to tell you. And then you tell me things, whatever, right? But yeah, in a nutshell, I just love my wife so fucking much. And I was really missing her, and just needed her to, to give her a big hug, and just for her to tell me everything's okay. Like, it was really hard. And I know it's only been 5 days at this point, but it was hard. And, and I'm like, they're not letting me, my mind's like, they're not letting me leave here. They won't let you tell your wife. And the teacher can see that I was having an internal crisis, and he came over and said, "Is everything okay?" And I couldn't handle it. I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm borderline. I almost feel like I'm having a panic attack, and I'm just like freaking out. And he's like, "Hey, you're not having a panic attack." He goes, "I've seen people with panic attacks. Trust me." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not the type to get them, but maybe my mind's like, no, you need to get them, so we're going to give it to you." And I'm like, no. But, and I was talking to the teacher for a bit, and he's like, "Look, do you want to talk to your wife? If you were able to call her and she tells you everything's okay and it relaxes and calms your mind, would you be able to get back into this?" Like, would it ruin your experience with the meditation? I says, no, it actually might even help it. And my wife's done this twice. And I'm thinking in my head, my wife's crazy. She's done this twice. She's done 2 10-day retreats like this. And it was really good for her. But like, was it as hard for her? I don't know. She says it was, but I don't know. So I needed to call her. So they let me call her. And I call her. She doesn't answer the phone. And like at this point, it's just after supper. And we're supposed to be getting ready for the next meditation. So I try calling and calling. I call like 4 times, no answer. And the guy's like, look, man, we got to go for the meditation. She's okay. I'm like, my mind's like, dude, she's not answering the phone, man. Maybe there's people in the house robbing the house right now. And then I gotta call one more time. And the guy looks up like annoyed with me. And I'm like, I got to call her one more time. So I call her one more time. She finally answered. I'm like, oh, hey. I'm like, is your husband Mike? She's like, man, she's like, is everything okay? Like, what's up? Because we said no news is good news, right? So now she's getting all these calls from this place. And she's like, uh-oh. She saw that she missed the calls. And then when she called back, it was, there's no one. Like, it doesn't call back that phone I'm on, right? It calls back the main office. No one's in the main office at this hour. Anyways, I was just like, finally got her. She's like, oh, is everything okay? What's up? I'm like, hey, and, you know. And after talking to her about it after, she's like, you sound so depressed. So blah. I'm like, it's really hard. I'm like, how did you do this? And she's like, you know, trying to comfort me, like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's fine here. Everybody's fine. There's nothing, you know, tell your mind to calm down and stuff like that, right? Everything's good here, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay. She's like, do you want me to come get you? Because I'll come get you if you need me to. And I'm like, no. I got this. I could do this, you know. I got this. I can do this, right? And then she's like, okay. And I was like, okay. Well, I got to go because the guy's like, we got to go. I'm like, okay, I got to go. Bye. And just hung up. And then we went for the meditation. And I was like telling myself, like, okay, everything's good there, blah, blah, blah. And then my ego or mind was like, hey, you know, she's like, and my mind is like, oh, hey, you know, you just hung up on your wife like that. Like, maybe she thinks you're going crazy. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, you need to call her and do this. And yeah, I just wasn't having it. My mind, I was just done. So in a nutshell, they let me call her. She's like, I'm coming to get you. But I wasn't allowed to leave until like every light's out because they don't want people to see me leaving. And then they go, oh, I could leave, right? Because you know everybody is working on themselves. So if everybody sees, you know, it's the first person to leave the party, then everybody starts leaving. And I'm like, I call my wife. I'm like, I need you to get me. And she's like, I'll be there in 2.5 hours. And I was like, you know, you could come tomorrow morning. As if, like early in the morning when everybody's in the meditation after breakfast and no one will know. And she's like, no, I'm coming now. So I went. So the teacher's like, hey, you know, like finish them. Like I finished all the meditations. I did all the rest of the day, and I went to my room like everything was normal. I cleaned up the cabin I was in, packed up all my stuff. And now my mind's like, oh, you're a quitter, eh? Hey, you're such a quitter, Mike. Hey, you're going to tell everybody on Life Changers, Mike, that you're a quitter? Huh? Yeah. I felt like if I stayed, it could have been beneficial. But I feel like I learned what I needed to learn. And I did learn a lot of stuff. Which I'll get into for the second half of this podcast. But yeah, so anyway, so I'm in the woods, just in my room, in the dark, just sitting there waiting because I'm not allowed to leave until at least lights out, which is about 10 o'clock. And then by the time everybody falls asleep, it's like, 10:30 or so. So I'm just sitting there waiting. And then I hear a knock on the door. And opened the door, and it was the teacher. He's like, okay, I can't let you leave alone. He's like, let's just go and sit in the breakfast hall and wait, and then you can call your wife to see, how far away she is and stuff like that. Then we can walk down to the gate because the gate's probably locked. So we walked and we talked, and I called my wife. She said, yeah, I'm, half an hour away. So I was talking to the guy and telling him, like, I'm sorry. And he's like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. He goes, a lot of people quit. Like, there's already, like, apparently 5 people that quit. I didn't even realize that. And I was like, yeah, but he goes, look, man, you advanced faster than a lot of people. Most people, get to this point later and then, hopefully like resolve it before the 10-day retreat. But he goes, you're learning a lot about your ego and your mind and your body. Like, that's amazing. He goes, like, just continue working through it. And he explained to me that all the meditations are on YouTube and I could find them and just listen to them and do them and stuff like that. And, deal with my crazy mind. But yeah. And then we started walking to the gate to where my wife was going to be. And he's like, I need to meet this woman that you love so fucking much. He goes, I never met a married man who's just that deeply in love. Like, she's special. And I'm like, she is special. And that's what gave me the idea where I need to talk a little bit about, like, how we got to this point of our relationship. And I probably don't even realize how much more I could fall in love with this person. But I'm like, yeah, like, she's my rock. And he's like, I was kind of hoping after you talked to her, because she's done this 10 times, that she would just tell you to pretty much stay, and you would just stay and finish it. Because he goes, I want to see how you would have progressed through the 10 days because you're way ahead of the class. And I was like, yeah, but I feel like I got what I needed out of it. He was like, yeah, I feel that too. I feel the energy. And then my wife pulled up and he's like, I want to see this person, and he's like, hey, I need to meet the girl that this guy is so crazy for. And stuff like that. And then, I just ran and hugged my wife, and it was really different. And just like my wife feels the love and feels how much I missed her and how hard it was. And then I still felt disconnected from the world. Like, she's like, do you want to drive? I was like, oh yeah, I could drive, because I usually do a lot of the driving, right? Because I drove truck and still drive trucks, right? If I need to for my business. She's like, no, I'll drive. You don't seem to be you. Like, you're still disconnected and still, like, coming back to the reality, I guess. And you must have had a hard time. And I was like, yeah. And yeah, so we hugged my wife. She said she'll drive, and I jumped in the car, or my truck, and we were driving home. And like, even my wife was so happy to see me. she's all bubbly and stuff. I was like, oh. And like, it's not like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, like. But anyways, we were just talking, and helped me by talking, helped me realize like a lot of things. And I explained to her, like I explained to you guys in the previous episode, maybe a little bit in this episode, how I'm a visual person. Like, I got photographic memory, and when when I hear stories or when I experience thoughts in my head and stuff, it's more like a TV show or movie playing, because I'm visual, and that's what makes it all more real. I guess. If somebody tells you a joke, I actually see the joke happening, and that's what makes it so much more funnier. But yeah, I started realizing as we were talking, like the visual thing, and my ego, and now my brain's telling me I'm such a failure for not finishing. I only made it to 5 days. I could have made it to 10. But the things I got out of it, I guess, are life-changing in the sense I realize how real the ego or the voice in your head and how, like, negative it is. And it's always trying to do the opposite. It's kind of like, I know everybody who's listening, experienced it in one way or another, right? Like I explained earlier, it's about the dark thing, right? How your mind starts going nuts until you actually know what's in the dark and what you're hearing. Or if you're trying to reach, your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and you can't get a hold of them, and your mind just starts going like, oh, well, maybe they want to break up with you, maybe they're cheating on you, blah, 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 or, oh, maybe they're hurt, maybe they're in the hospital, right? And I know everybody's experienced this because people tell me all the time these stories. And like, I used to be very disconnected from like, I had, not disconnected, I had like thoughts and stuff, but like my emotions, like growing up, I was really disconnected from my emotions where I learned to just turn them off, like whatever, right? But it's, it's good to have emotions, and, it's good to have a good cry and stuff like that. And I'm only saying that because I did when I was in my retreats. But I realize how powerful your mind really is and your thoughts really are. And if you entertain them, how real they are. And it just reinforces everything that I've been talking about. It's like, it's all about mind over matter. How you could change the world with one thought. Like your whole entire world with one thought. You could change anything with one thought. It's, like you hear me say in some other episodes how, well, in, young me would see everything I achieved, how I'm sitting here in a podcast studio in my own office with this nice desk and these nice leather chairs, right? And it's my personal office for business and stuff, and I also use it as a podcast studio. And how cool it is, and how I have like 2 warehouses, and I'm running a business and I'm helping people, and I got all these different brands and stuff, and how amazing life is, right? And yet, show me my old self that, how, crazy I'd go, like, this is awesome, I've made it. Everything's happening the way I want, right? But yet, here in the moment, I'm like, I want more. How we're never satisfied with what we have. And I need to be satisfied with what I have and grateful. And show gratitude to the universe, to the world, to Mother Nature, to God, whatever you want to call it, right? Show gratitude for everything you have. Be grateful. Just love life, love everything. Be happy, and just don't worry. And positive minds and positive attitudes work. And I do know, like, mind over matter, how, when I first started with testing the law of attraction all those years ago, and I would do the hardest thing, which is go to the casino and turn a profit. And how easy it became for me. And how, when I used to go to the casino, I used to get excited winning like $100, whatever. Now, if I go to the casino, like, I'm jaded, I guess. Or if I don't win like 1,000 or more, a couple, 5,000, then I'm like, man, whatever, it's okay day, I made a few $100, right? As you get jaded, as you get older, as you get more, I guess, successful and stuff. But like how contracts in the old days, where I was like, wow, I got a contract where they're paying us, X amount of money for this big event that we're organizing for them, and my profit will be decent. Like, wow, I'm doing great. And well, times that by 10, and I'm, now I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing. But if I get the same contract I got, where it's like, oh, wow, I did this. No, it's whatever. It's business, right? But your mind really does have a lot of power and control. Your mind and your body is what's controlling, I guess, your thoughts. Your ego and your body. As Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, you got to control your body and your thoughts. Don't let your body control you. And how it controls you is, cravings. Oh, I need this. Oh, go do this. Oh, you're used to just sitting around doing nothing. Oh, why do you want to get active, Mike? Just stop. You don't need to go run 10 kilometers. You don't need to do push-ups. You don't need to do that. Just be happy where you are. And sometimes my ego uses my own words against me. And my body's like, yeah, let's just relax and do nothing. Oh, this feels good. How hard it is when you're walking on the treadmill, or how hard it is when I'm doing these push-ups. Oh, just relax, man. Do it tomorrow, right? Your mind and body are just ganging up on you. And you just got to learn to take control. So one of the bigger lessons I take from the 10-day meditation retreat is how much my body and my mind or my ego is running me. And I need to take control. That's the lesson here, folks. It's amazing how you can choose to be successful, or how you can choose to let your ego go crazy and be depressed. And your mind just takes over. It's kind of like if we're in the dark and you hear a weird noise in the woods in the night, right? Or in the cemetery at night. Oh, yeah, you're walking through and you hear some noise. Your mind starts going crazy. And if you entertain some of those thoughts that your ego is throwing at you, you run away scared. But then you realize, just the wind or this or that, right? Maybe it is a zombie. I don't know. But yeah, and this episode is going to be cut short, but it's just love yourself, love who you are, live in the moment. I tell you that all the time, but we really truly got to live in the moment, live in the now. Don't live in the past, because our bodies live in the past and they try to recreate the past over and over and over and over and over and over, so you get into your routine and blah blah blah, and then maybe you don't feel fulfilled, or you don't feel like you did anything. Well, control your body. Take control. And love yourself. That's what matters. Mind over matter. Well, I do love everybody. Thank you very much for listening. And the episodes will only get better. I do appreciate everybody that listens. Please share these podcasts with your friends, family, or anybody you think will appreciate them. And yeah, feel free to reach out in an email. It's lifechangersmike@gmail.com. That's lifechangersmike@gmail.com. And just tell us if there's any topics you want us to talk about, or if you have any questions or any experiences you want to share, and we would share it for you on the podcast. So remember, we are all a work in progress, and it does really take one day at a time. But appreciate where you are. Live in the now. Be happy. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. It's in the past. Live now. Be happy. I love you. And once again, this is Mike with Life Changers.